I want to talk about some things that I noticed that the ultra wealthy do, things that I am embarking on in my own finances myself that have made a huge difference in my financial life. So if you're like, you know what, I want to do what financially successful people are doing, you're in luck because we're going to get into it right now. Hey, CourtneyLSanders here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, I'm a full-time online life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, and I'm super passionate about helping you turn your entrepreneurship not just into your passion and amazing impact that you can make on the world, but also generational wealth for your family. Because I feel like now more than ever, especially when we think about all the things that are happening, whether it's pandemics or global wars or whatever, I feel like a lot of people have their heads in the sand and that they really need to take their ability to achieve financial freedom and build generational wealth more seriously. And so with that, I want to talk about some things that I noticed that the ultra wealthy do, things that I am embarking on in my own finances myself that have made a huge difference in my financial life. So if you're like, you know what, I want to do what financially successful people are doing, you're in luck because we're going to get into it right now. Okay, the first thing that I noticed, and this is going to be surprising for many of you, that ultra wealthy people do is that they actually focus on active income before passive income. And I feel like this is so important to talk about because especially on social media, Instagram, YouTube, you can't throw a rock without hitting a video talking about how important passive income is and how you need to build passive income. And it is true, you do need to build passive income over time. But I find that so many people are obsessed with this idea of passive income that they don't do what it takes in order to make even the passive income possible, which is develop the active income. And so I found that a lot of ultra wealthy people first invest in themselves and invest in their own businesses. And from there, they use the profits to then get into passive income. I find that a lot of people are so like, oh, everybody says I need passive income. They're not investing in themselves. They're not investing in their own business. They're taking the small amount of money that they have left over after paying all their bills and, their job only pays so much. And so, they have this little bit of wiggle room left over. And then they're trying to throw that at the stock market or in their retirement accounts in order to get that passive income. And that's why it's gonna take you, 40 years in order to do it. And, you're retiring well into your 70s. Where if you take that same money and first invest in yourself, invest in your own business, and then let that business become something that generates a lot of active income for you, you can then take out the excess cash from that active income, which is gonna be a lot more than the income that you're generating from your job, and you put that towards your passive income investments. I say this as I'm recording this. I'm actually in my short-term rental. I always say that it moonlights as my recording studio, but I was able to purchase this condo cash via the profits from my business. And I never would have been able to do that had I tried to take, the little bit of money that I had left over after my corporate job and tried to put it into a passive income vehicle. Instead, I took the little bit of money that I had left over from my corporate job and I invested in myself and I invested in my own business. And then I allowed that to produce my passive income. And so now I'm building up my passive income portfolio. And in fact, there was a great quote, I don't know it exactly, but Layla Hormozi, maybe you follow her channel here on YouTube, she had a really great discussion, or it was like a tweet quote, where she was talking about how so many people are trying to get rich basically off of passive investments in the stock market, when they really need to be focused on getting rich based on their own talents and their own business. And so this is exactly what I'm saying. In fact, many of the people that we look up to say Warren Buffett and, oh, he's the greatest investor of all time and he invested so much money in the stock market. Yes and no. Actually, what Warren Buffett does is he actually invests in other companies. So while you and I are buying stocks, Warren Buffett is actually buying the whole company, right? Or buying a large portion of the company and then getting the equity in that way. So it's not necessarily apples to apples. It's not like he's logging into Robinhood and, buying a bunch of stocks. His actual business, his active income business is finding other businesses that he wants to invest in. And so it's really a different game. And so if you look closely, you'll find this pattern with a lot of wealthy people, but they really prioritize that active income and then they use that to create passive income. All right, I have a lot more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. What's one wealthy habit that you're looking to master? Share in the comments below. All right, the second thing that I noticed that ultra wealthy people do that many people don't, or that we're not taught to, especially in the middle class, is that they don't save and spend, but they store and send. And I mean this with money. They don't save and spend their money, they store and send their money. And so what I mean by that is many of us are taught to save and spend. And so this idea that, we get our income that we receive from our job, and then, we save as much as we can, but oftentimes it's not much because we need to spend it on our bills and our overhead and all these different things. And then what's ever left over, we just kind of like save in a savings account, and then that's the end of that. And then we hope that one day over time, after 50 years, we'll have enough in savings to, I guess, support us for the rest of our life, which is kind of crazy. Maybe we put a little towards the stock market, but again, going back to my previous point about this active versus passive income, we often don't have a large enough nest egg to really make that worthwhile. And I'm not saying don't invest in the stock market. I invest in the stock market. Whatever you have, do invest, but understand that it'll go a lot further if you, again, focus on that active income and investing in your own business versus trying to essentially win the lottery 30 years down the road by only investing in the stock market. You'll get there faster investing in your own business. But anyway, back to what ultra wealthy people do. Wealthy people, if they're gonna park their money, they park it in an asset, right? We're taught in the middle class to save, right? We're gonna park it in a bank account, even though the bank account is not gonna give you much interest. Even now, when interest rates are super high, we're all excited. Oh, CDs are giving like 4 and 5%, right? But is that really gonna help keep up with inflation? Wealthy people, instead of saving money, store it in assets, and they do this pretty much in any arena of life. And what's interesting is I know that there's this discussion, or a lot of people think that they're turning their nose up at the ultra wealthy because what's wrong with them buying these super expensive watches? What's wrong with them buying these Birkin bags and all these things? Again, it's this mindset. Who spent more money? The person who spent $100 on a handbag, but they're buying a handbag every few months because, it's tearing up or whatever, or the person who spent maybe $5,000 or even $10,000 on a designer bag, but it holds its value and it appreciates value over time. Again, they're always looking for, where can I store my money? Obviously, they're storing their money in assets that we know of, like, real estate and even other businesses and different things. But even those kind of like lifestyle expenses, jewelry, handbags, whatever, they're like, where can I store it in something that is going to retain its value? In fact, I have a friend who was telling me about a Chanel handbag that she bought years ago. I think she said she spent $4,000 on it, and she keeps it up. It's in great condition. Right now, that handbag, because Chanel stopped making it, is now valued at over $11,000. So that's an example of, storing your money anywhere and everywhere that you can think of. Yes, stored in real estate, stored in things that we traditionally think of as assets, but the ultra wealthy, because they have the capital to do so, will also look at things that tend to be lifestyle, whether it's artwork, jewelry, handbags, and they actually spend less than the average person. Yes, it requires more capital up front, but they're spending less because they're storing that capital in lifestyle things that actually appreciate in value versus things that depreciate. So, right, the person who's buying Zara handbags, no shade to Zara, might have put up less capital up front, but they actually spent more when it's all said and done because those handbags depreciated and it's something that they had to buy over and over again, where the wealthy person put more money up front in the Chanel bag, but then they're able to sell it, in a few years, and they actually made $5,000 on it. In fact, I started to notice this while reading Bethany Frankel's book, Business is Personal, and it's actually really good. I really recommend it. If you're not sure who Bethany Frankel is, she was one of the original housewives of New York, and she used and leveraged that whole reality TV space to create her whole Skinny Girl Margarita brand and all these other brands that she has. And so I was interested in reading the book because I'm interested in people who have grown personal brands, Bethany Frankel, Oprah Winfrey, Martha Stewart. And so I just wanted to get those insights. And kind of as an aside, she talked about how she has this hobby where she buys Rolex watches and, all these high-end watches, and she keeps an eye on the market. Sure, she likes them and she likes the way they look and she wears them, but she also sees what's hot in the market. And when these watches spike and a particular watch is in demand, she will sell it and not only get her money back, but get a return on it. So this is what I'm saying. Everything is an investment. They're looking to store their money, not just spend it. Now, when I talk about sending their money, they also see their money as soldiers, and they're sending them out to bring more money back to them. And even this concept of this language around taking money and sending it like a soldier is something that I picked up from T. Harv Ekers in his book, The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And so he talks about how ultra wealthy people don't just spend money, they send money, right? They say, okay, this dollar is a soldier for me and it needs to go back and bring me more dollars, right? To help me build my wealth. Where can I send this so that it generates more wealth for me? And so essentially ultra wealthy people are always looking for not just assets, right? So places they can park their money and store it, right? Like, those handbags, real estate, all these different things, but they're also looking at where can they get cash flow? Where can it make more money for them? So real estate in particular is really great. And you'll find that a lot of wealthy people buy up a lot of real estate because it's easy for them to generate cash flow. But that's not the only place. There are wealthy people who buy luxury cars, but then they, use high-end services who will rent those luxury cars out by the day or by the hour. And that becomes an asset that cash flows for them and makes money. So it's not just about spending the money, it's about sending the money so that you send it somewhere and it's gonna bring more money back to you. All right, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you're gonna love my financial freedom formula workshop. This is a video that I did not too long ago. You can only get it by clicking the link below and downloading it, but it's completely free and it goes more in depth about the mindset that you need to have in order to achieve financial freedom. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the link below. All right, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait for my next video, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast, The Courtney Sanders Show, on both iTunes and Spotify. And if you can't wait for my next podcast episode or my next YouTube video, make sure you are following me on Instagram, CourtneyLSanders on Instagram. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.